are a variety of reasons why you would need a recipe like the one we're about to cook. Maybe you shopped for the person that you wanted to be and not the person that you are, and now you have a bunch of healthy salad greens that are dying in your fridge. Maybe you forgot how mid chard was. Or maybe you were at a fancy farmer's market and bought a bunch of these but don't know what the f to do with any of these. And so to help us make the most of all the food that we have bought here and to help us reduce the amount of food waste that we put into our infrastructure, we are gonna take some inspiration from South Asia and make ourselves some saag. Let's get started. In the West, saag is recognized as a green Indian curry. It's usually served with a cheese called paneer, which gets you the really famous dish, Saag Paneer. It is similar to a dish called palak paneer, but the difference between Saag Paneer is that saag uses different leafy greens, whereas palak paneer uses just spinach. Traditionally, the greens that you would find in saag would include also spinach, but other greens such as mustard greens, maybe radish greens. For the purposes of this recipe, what is more important is the fact that we have a bunch of greens as opposed to the type of greens that we have. Because we're not really going for a traditional saag right now, we're just using saag as the inspiration. We're just trying to not waste the greens that are currently going bad in our fridge. With all your greens washed, what you do next is you could either chop it, I'm just gonna tear these up into smaller pieces, and then we're gonna wilt them in the pot. So using a little bit of either water, or maybe you wanna use some chicken stock, whatever you wanna flavor it with, and let it soften in there while you prepare the rest of the dish. So right now in here, I've got the turnip greens, I've got some chard, I've got some wilting salad greens in here that I forgot were in my crisper. All of it can be used and all of it should be used. While the greens wilt, we'll prepare all the aromatics for the dish. We'll take some garlic, as well as some onion, some garam masala, some green chili. This is a Serrano pepper. You can use jalapeño, Thai chili, any kind of spicy pepper that you would like. If you don't have any garam masala, but you happen to buy any of my spice blend, Master Stock works really well for this too. Because everything in this dish is gonna be pretty much ground up and processed anyway, how pretty you cut your garlic or your onions is not really that important here. So I've got some baking soda here, and I'm gonna add just a pinch of it to my cooking greens. The way baking soda and chlorophyll reacts while it's cooking will help it keep that really nice bright green that we're looking for, even as we're cooking everything down. I did it a little bit late in this process, so we have some of the greens already starting to darken, but it will help keep the rest of the greens nice and green. Well, we're just gonna saute all our aromatics in some ghee along with some spices. So first we're gonna cook the onions along with a little bit of garam masala. Gets us a nice kind of sweet aroma. We add in our garlic. And we're not trying to go for a caramelization here. We are just trying to sweat and soften these onions out. So once they start to get a little translucent, that means they are ready. And now to this, we'll add our chilies. Because I just happen to have a whole bunch of spices available to me, just for fun, we will also do some coriander, some cumin, and some white pepper. That's why it's great to just have ground spices on hand. Okay, we're just gonna let that sweat for a little bit. While we wait for this to cook down, here is a word from myself. Have you ever thought to yourself that maybe you would like to write a book but just don't have the time? Hi, I'm John Kung, and no, I am not tired, that is just my face. Here to share with you the latest in time-saving innovation. Don't write a book, buy mine instead. My book, Kung Food by John Kung, features the latest in book technology, including pages, words, and introducing JPEGs on paper. Kung Food by John Kung is not yet available in stores, but if you pre-order now, you can get your copy the same time as everyone else, except I will like you more specifically. Click the link in the description and pre-order your copy today. And now we return to whatever terrible video you might have been watching before. So now that the aromatics are nice and softened, we're just simply going to add this to the greens, which have been nice and softened as well. Give that a mix, and now we blend. When blending this, you're gonna want this to become a pretty smooth paste. I'm gonna try this with this immersion blender, but ideally you would have like a nice high-powered blender like a Vitamix. Some people like their saag to be chunky, some people like them to be smooth. It's really your own personal preference. You can also control the thickness of the liquid by adding a little bit of a cornstarch slurry if you want your saag to be a little more saucy as opposed to watery. For the cornstarch slurry, you just pretty much need 1 tablespoon of cornstarch and 1 tablespoon of water. Oh, cold water, because if you use hot water, it'll turn into like a clumpy, goopy mess. And you just add this little by little to a simmering pot until it's about as thick as you like. I like it to be a little thicker. Now to this, you can add things like paneer, which is an Indian mild cheese that is iconic to this dish. Or you can add things like chicken, mushrooms, seared tofu, whatever it is you want. Obviously, I use chicken stock on this, but if I had used mushroom stock or even just water, this would have been totally vegan. It's like nice and sweet and vegetal with a little bit of pepperiness from the turnip greens. Obviously, if you use mustard greens, it would be nice and peppery that way too. You would serve this along with whatever you cooked in it, alongside a nice steaming bowl of rice. And because I'm Chinese, I'm just gonna add just a little bit of chicken powder to this, because we put it in everything. And though I personally don't have any paneer on hand, tragically, I do have some tofu. I love having this around because it's shelf-stable tofu, where you don't have to refrigerate this. So, and this is like really, really soft tofu that you can just add to whatever. And I'm adding it to my saag. So there you have it, my very non-traditional saag, or very heavily saag-inspired dish. I combined it here with some of the cumin rice we made for another video, as well as a little bit of tofu just for some protein. Because I blended it, it's gonna have a very smooth and creamy texture. Oh man. And it pairs really well with some jeera rice. And you know what? It's pretty good with tofu as well. This is some silken tofu that I added to it, and it adds an amazing textural balance. It is very mild, and altogether a great way to use up some of the greens that might have been going bad in your fridge. I can feel you zooming in. Just put that farther away. I can't. It's like I can't even see.